Hello everyone, today is February 1st, 2022. Today I'm in the process of feeding some of my colonies that were on the verge of starvation, are really low in weight, by community feeder, and just kind of want to show you what's going on here. So right there's 8 colonies I brought in. I'm going to try to get about 55 gallons put in about 37 colonies here in a span of about 4 days. I've already got about half of it out. They're taking it down very fast. So I brought 12 in. That's 8 of them there, and then that's 4 more. My original plan was to move 12 of those out along that line there, but they was a little bit lighter than what I thought they should be. So I'm gonna let them take on some food, and I may look at moving those out in a few days. And right down there is 9 of the Nucs I have left from the splits last summer. But they're really going at the sugar water today pretty good. So this works pretty good. For me, I go out and bring the colonies in that need feed, and I can just feed them all here at one time and not have to run around to all my yards day after day. So the colonies that don't need fed, I left them where they are. The ones that need feed, I brought here, and I'm just feeding them out there in the community feeder, and it just seems like it makes it easier. It is a little work, but I think this is, for me, it's the most efficient way to do it. We'll step out there and take a look at the community feeder, how crowded it is. Now they've kind of settled down. The feeder may be a little bit empty right now. I may have to put some more in it, but it's kind of a good idea to at least put on a hood veil, because they can be a little bit aggressive during this process. So I've done been stung a couple times just walking around the last couple of days out here. So I made me a 55-gallon drum of sugar water yesterday, and I took 8 out of it, so should leave about 48 gallons, if we're going to probably take about 16 of that out, or 10 to 15 of it anyway, hopefully somewhere in that neighborhood. So I'm going to run up about 4.5 gallons or so in here. Try to get these bees to fly off before I pour the syrup in there. There's a few still around, but they're just desperately after this food. It's amazing how fast they'll take this down. I actually wound up probably putting closer to 5 gallons in there. These are definitely fuller than they was yesterday. And that literally took me about 3 or 4 minutes to go over there and fill those buckets back up. And the traffic's already picking up. So yeah, that'll hold a lot more if I needed it to, but I don't want to put too much pressure on it. So basically today is in the 60s, tomorrow's supposed to be in the 60s, and Wednesday is supposed to be rainy and in the 60s, but I'm trying to take advantage of this opportunity about 3 days here to get some weight on these colonies back there. I think I got like 37 here, but over half of them are really light, and had to put those emergency sugar bricks on some of them, but this is going to give them some breathing room. Here we are about 35 minutes after I refilled them. You've seen how empty it was a while ago. The bees has already learned where this is at, so they're on the constant lookout for it. So this is going to allow me to get a lot of weight on these colonies in a relatively short amount of time. And they're just going absolutely crazy. Now if you come here tomorrow after 12 o'clock, when the temperature's in the 60s and that sun's shining, there'll be a lot more bees than there are here right now. You know, one of the things that a lot of the books will tell you about checking the weight on your hives is always pick it up in the back, and basically, to me, it'll feel about like one of these 12-inch blocks if it's good weight in there, or perhaps a car battery. But I like to go a step further when I check the weight of the colonies. And so not only do I pick it up in the back, but I'll pick it up from side to side like this, and you can tell like most of the weight's on this side of the colony. Most of my colonies tend to be that way, tend to favor one side on weight. Now, you know, if you have a good colony, they'll balance it out pretty good and be pretty heavy throughout, in my experience. And usually this is south this way, and they're facing due east. But I've noticed over the years that the brood nests were usually established here on the southeast side of the box, whichever way it's facing don't matter, but the brood nest will seem to initiate on the southeast side of the box. And obviously that would be due to the, you know, they're utilizing the sunlight as it hits the side of the box there. So my nucs here, I've got 9 of the 21 left that I made up back in August. And I have emergency bricks and pollen supplement on them, and they're all working the sugar syrup out there pretty good, looks like. Right there you can see they're kind of dragging some of that sugar brick out, so they may not be consuming it all. They're going, oops, I don't have the camera. I don't know if that caught it or not, but there was a nice bag of, or a nice couple of nice balls of pollen just went in. And it's that time of the year where hazel alder should be starting to come in. I noticed on the sides of the road it looks like it's about to bloom, but it is at least budding out. And there's a pretty good supply of hazel alder in this area. A lot of lowlands and kind of wet areas. That's where it basically grows. And on my way to work, I see several patches of it, and so I know when it's going to bloom. So right here's a look in one of the nucs I made for splits last August. You can see they're consuming the pollen supplement a little bit, and they're definitely working on the sugar brick. So I want to talk a couple minutes about the nucs here. Kind of when you get older, you kind of get set in your ways, and I had the fortune of a few years in a row back in my early career of having really good goldenrod flows in the fall. And those usually come when we had good rains in the summer. But in 2021, we had a lot of good rains throughout the summer, especially in July, and that seems to set the tone. And I felt like we would probably get a really good goldenrod flow, so I kind of gambled and didn't feed as good as I should. And I did feed these a couple of gallons when I made them, but it wasn't enough. Turns out you try to predict Mother Nature, and sometimes you lose, and I definitely lost out on that. So I went from 21 to 9 of these nucs, lost about 6 or 7 of my production colonies. I didn't get feed on them fast enough after harvest. I learned me a valuable and kind of expensive lesson. Unnecessarily lost those 12 queens because I didn't do a good enough job feeding them. And like I said, I gambled and thought we'd have a great goldenrod flow, and it turns out that it was not very good. Now, interestingly, a couple of my yards, I got one yard up there, the one on the hill, all 6 of those colonies are just heavy, heaping full of honey. And then I have one yard down here I've had to bring all 6 colonies here to feed, and that yard does not consistently do well at all with goldenrod. And here most of these colonies on this line did pretty good. And I feel confident that the feeding was the issue. There's a friend of mine, beekeeping friend, we've been friends for a long time, and we kind of work together and compare notes and kind of have the same treatment strategy and stuff. And he did a better job of feeding last summer than I did, and now it shows, because he's only had a couple of losses. So I'm very confident that my gamble did not pay off. So going forward, I'm going to go ahead and budget and plan on feeding my colonies thoroughly throughout the fall, whether they're nucs, my production colonies, or whatever. I'm not going to try to gamble and save a little bit, which at the time there was kind of a sugar shortage, and I was not able to find really enough sugar, but I had some I could have fed better. But going forward, I'm going to feed properly, plan on feeding each colony 5 or 6 gallons of sugar water throughout the summer and the fall. And them nucs right there probably should have got about 4, maybe 5 gallon. So going forward, I'll definitely feed regardless of what the fall flow does. If the fall flow produces good, great. If it's not there, then I'll have it covered. But like I say, I'm going into my 16th year of beekeeping, and just goes to show you, sometimes you get that mindset and it's hard to break some of these old habits. But trying to predict a good fall flow, it kind of didn't go as I'd hoped this time. So hopefully by sharing this information, it'll prevent some of you from making that same mistake. It's really not that expensive, in my opinion, to feed the colonies. I mean, yes, it is. The return on that investment in terms of honey and not having to lose your colonies is well worth it, especially if you're trying to grow a little bit, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do. I'll just mark this down as a lesson learned, and I'll move forward, because that's all I can do, and just try to stay positive. And I'm just thankful I'm getting to share this information with some of you that's newer beekeepers, and hopefully this will help you out. I look forward to beekeeping in 2022 and see what adventures we get into this year. Once again, I want to thank each and every one of you that take the time to watch my videos. I hope you enjoy them, and we'll catch you on the next one.